So you time to welcome you now to Voices on Win FM 90.9. Voices where we hear from you on issues of national, regional, international import, things you've noticed in the news, things you've noticed in your environment, some ideas you'd like to share. It all happens right here on Voices on Win FM 90.9. And we have an open mic today, so we'll take your calls very early indeed. Our numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, and 762-0989. We're standing by for your calls. We say a very good morning to Rams, proud sponsors of this segment of Voices right here on Win.
Feel the magic happening.
Campari.
Taste.
Something incredible happens when Campari is mixed just right. Like Campari and orange juice poured over ice. Taste it. Try it tonight. Bitter, sweeter, better. Campari. Must be 18 years and older. Drink responsibly.
Hey kids, drink healthy!
Reduced sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors, drink the more healthy way.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy, drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun.
It's chubby.
Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun.
It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way!
Well, once again, a very good morning to you. We have an open mic today, 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. We're standing by for your calls. All right, the phone lines are pretty quiet. Just yesterday, World Teachers' Day observed across the globe. And we had an address by the Federal Minister of Education, Mr. John Powell, and we're going to play that address for you, giving thanks and praise for the teaching fraternity. Let's hear that now once again.
Today we pause to celebrate our teachers on the occasion of World Teachers' Day, also known as International Teachers' Day. On October 5th, each year, St. Kitts and Nevis joins the rest of the world in drawing attention to the voices of teachers, who are at the heart of efforts to attain the global education target of leaving no one behind. I'm quite aware that teachers have grown accustomed to being celebrated at a ceremony where teachers who attain milestone years in this profession are recognized. I'm also aware that on World Teachers' Day, teachers who retired from active duty would also be honored for their service to the fraternity and to the nation. The Ministry of Education salutes both categories of honorees and gives the reassurance that this ceremony will take place in some form before the end of 2020. The existing crisis brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to delay our celebratory activity for this year. It is clear that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about complex challenges to the work that teachers do to ensure that the children of the world receive a quality education. It is no accident, therefore, that the theme selected for World Teachers' Day 2020, which reads, Teachers, Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future, is being created for such a time as this. Here, in St. Kitts and Nevis, teachers at all levels must be highly applauded for the many roles that they continue to play during this time of crisis. The issue of teachers stepping out of their comfort zone and assuming leadership roles is not only timely but critical in terms of contributions that they have to make to provide remote learning, to support vulnerable populations, to reopen schools safely, and to ensure learning gaps have been mitigated. Let me bring this point closer to home by reiterating the contributions that our teachers have made in learning during this pandemic. Hundreds of teachers took the initiative to use numerous online learning platforms as a means of continuing to engage their students in learning when schools were ordered closed for an indefinite period of time. The many teachers that availed themselves to be trained in delivering education in a virtual space. From every school in St. Kitts and Nevis, teachers who became known as champions took on the added layer of responsibility to train their colleagues to teach online. This is a powerful example of teachers leading in crisis. We witnessed many teachers leading in crisis when they reported to their schools daily during periods of lockdowns and curfews to lend their support in ensuring that the students who requested a hot lunch were able to receive school meals 5 days a week. The reopening of the early childhood centers on August 10, 2020, and the reopening of the primary and secondary sectors of our education system on Monday, September 7, 2020, saw teachers taking on new roles such as online instructors, recess and lunch monitors, and health screeners. Like nurses and doctors, teachers have joined the front line in helping to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Teachers have now become experts in reading body temperatures, screening students for persistent coughs and sneezes, enforcing the wearing of masks, washing of hands, and the practicing of proper hygiene. This, again, is another great example of teachers leading in crisis. As never before, were teachers called upon to discharge such responsibilities. The greatest acclamation is due to our school-based administrators and teachers for the excellent manner in which they contributed and continue to contribute to the implementation of the Ministry of Education's framework provided for the guidance of the reopening of schools. I said to the administrators and teachers, the Ministry of Education is heartened by your commitment and dedication that you, as teachers, have demonstrated in putting students first. We cannot thank you enough. Teachers, school administrators, parents the world over are hard at work trying to imagine what the future would look like for schools, for quality teacher education programs that will build resilient education systems for the ways children are socialized, how children learn, and how they are taught. It is an inescapable fact that teachers have a significant role in building resilience and shaping the future of education systems and the teaching profession. It is imperative that teachers be engaged in discussions on reimagining the future. When I spoke to teachers on the reopening of schools on September 7th, I made the point then that it is difficult to imagine the future of education without technology. St. Kitts and Nevis is among the leading Caribbean countries in investments in its digital foundation, most notably in upgrading its digital infrastructure. With a capable network to deliver broadband to government offices, schools, and other public service facilities, St. Kitts and Nevis is poised to modernize and digitize government operations to offer a suite of services to digitally enabled citizens, including the delivery of education in a virtual environment. The International Telecommunication Unit, ITU, ranked St. Kitts and Nevis #1 in the Caribbean region in 2017, number 37 in the world of 176 countries, in their Information Communications and Technology, or ICT, Development Index, which assesses how ICTs contribute to economic, educational, and social impacts. First, ICT infrastructure needs to be in place, and it needs to be widely accessible. It is almost impossible for teachers to reimagine the future of education without ICT infrastructure being in place and widely accessible. Second, the ICT infrastructure needs to be used, with skills influencing the quality of that use. The evolving digitization is increasing the country's resilience to external shocks such as COVID-19 pandemic to continue business and government operations within an environment of social distancing rules and contactless daily transactions. With respect to the delivery of education services, St. Kitts and Nevis adapted innovative and flexible ways during this crisis. For example, the deployment of digital education, such as moving the curriculum and instructions online, in addition to low-tech options, such as television, radio, and mobile apps, WhatsApp, phone, or social media, were adopted to provide pedagogical guidance and support for teachers and parents. School closures presented the government of St. Kitts and Nevis with opportunities to close the digital divide or gap between those who had internet access and those who had limited or no access. As we reimagine the future, these lessons will inform the Ministry of Education's deployment of its strategic plan and collaboration in terms of public-private partnerships to introduce innovative solutions to deliver educational resources and to improve access to every household within the Federation. On balance, as teachers reimagine the future, there is no better time to invest in STEAM courses, digital literacy and skills, and to enhance ICT connectivity within households and communities. Building digital skills and creating a local market for them will be critical for St. Kitts and Nevis to be competitive as a service-based economy, creating job opportunities and or attracting digitally enabled industries to the Federation. While the country has fared well in terms of an emergency response to COVID-19 pandemic, there remains key medium and long-term questions to be addressed in reimagining the future of the delivery of education in the Federation. These questions include how to prepare the digital infrastructure for an increase in demand to move education services online, how best to prepare parents and educators to navigate the digital education space and to implement a multi-pronged digital education strategy in terms of on and offline resources, content, vendors, mediums such as radio, TV, and apps. How to transition from face-to-face education delivery to meaningful online learning. COVID-19 is forcing us to rethink the education system, and it is clear that automation will play an increasingly significant role in the process of teaching and learning in the future. As a result, the Ministry of Education must build a future-oriented and resilient digital education system for the long term. An education system that integrates physical teaching and learning with remote teaching and learning. I end this address as I began. I invite all citizens and residents to join with the Ministry of Education in saluting all teachers of the Federation on this, the occasion of World Teachers Day 2020. Teachers, as you pause to celebrate this day that has been set aside to honor you, may you find even greater inspiration and rejuvenation in your quest to make that difference in the lives of our students. Long live the teachers of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you.
That address there from the Minister of Education, Federal Minister of Education, Mr. Donald Powell. And if you have any comments, any observations, and any remarks you'd like to share with us, your thoughts on that address, our numbers are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. Your voices on WinFM 98.9. go to the phone lines and say a very good morning to our first caller for the program today. Good morning to you.
Mr. Bacchus, good morning.
Mr. Montserrat, good morning to you, man. How are you doing today?
Morning. I'm morning to all the listeners. I am still on vacation, Mr. Bacchus, but
I'm glad to have you back,
I
man.
promise you something that I'll be listening, and I don't like to hear when the phone line just hear music I play. I believe too much of things they say. Mr. Bacchus, it was one clarion call last night on Ian Patch's live show. One lady cried for help. So, may depend on my very good friend. Let me put in that first. Let me make sure me put in that. Ian Patches for, he said make a follow up, but I believe me can wait until Thursday for hear something. So anybody at all will know about the situation there. Call him from Vices, let me hear if the lady get any assistance. And whatever the problem, the improve. And Mr. Bacchus, one more thing, and then I'll be listening. More to hear my constitutional call at it. I want to hear my sister. I not hear my sister Vice one long time. I want to hear my sister Vice today. Mr. Bacchus, Saturday. Mr. Bacchus, you close off the program 1:30 Saturday, just like Vices. Me think you may go even up to minutes to 2. Me pick up my phone and my hand and ready for do my contribution. And next thing Mr. Bacchus say, that is all for today. Mr. What really go on here? Mr. Bacchus, me on holiday. I'll be listening.
Well, let me ask you, I see I have you on the line this morning. Yesterday was World Teachers Day. And I know you must have some fond memories of some teacher who helped you along the way to become the man that you are today. What would you like to share with us about the teaching profession and any anecdote you want to share with us about how a teacher may have influenced you one way or the other?
Boy. First, we get some licks from plenty of the teachers on them.
All of us.
Because maybe a little bit disgusting. So, one improvement now that me grow up. Me learn a lot. They teach me a lot. Them also things that my parents never yet discussed with me. Pertaining to like slavery. And there we me learn about slavery and so now from the learning institution. The way how they got them now. The part that me wish me shouldn't know. Because people use slavery now as something that hiding the devil fault. You know, now me getting the scriptures, I want to hold complete different. But to all teachers, let me give mine appreciation. And we got one teacher, well, a teacher now here, one ambassador to Cuba, me think. But he said that he had teacher there. I think it's about seven different schools as a teacher. In my Vice is one of them. I don't know if you may host the program, Mr. Bacchus. But I forgot the name. Every time I hear you, lift my spirit. One kitchen. You know who made that, Mr. Bacchus?
I can't remember, man, to be honest.
Yeah, ambassador to him. Maybe somebody should call in and say. If anybody know who may talk about and then got the number, call in and tell you, well, he got a big fan in a month shot. Mr. Bacchus, other people go call in and give them regards and let the teachers then continue their teaching profession and love the children and them. And take on the work, because back in the day, no money me day, so the teachers and them now, we used to deal with the love of of the job. Nowadays there's some the teachers and then they look forward just to be a job and whether they teach children and learn or not. I mean the children are more disgusting now too. Because back in the day now parents and one complaint come home from school to parents, well, you get lick home and you still carry back to school and beat you in front of the teacher. Now, may I even understand that parents now even want to go to school, go pick fight with the teachers. So, let the teachers then not get down courage, continue them good work, and that's mine a little bit. So, I want to hear from my constitutional call, I want to hear from my sister. Mr. Bacchus, pull out Mr. Adams out of retirement.
I can try.
Okay then,
Yeah, man. Thank you, brother. All right, that's Mr. Montserrat calling there from the beautiful island of Montserrat. He has his real name, but we call him Mr. Montserrat, and he's a man who is a regular on our program. We always look forward to hearing from him. And, of course, we all have been shaped. Well, most of us, I can't speak for everyone. I can speak for myself and perhaps my small group of people who I know, have been shaped one way or the other by a teacher. It's always a particular teacher. When you have a conversation and you catch up with your old friends and buddies, you say, remember Mr. or remember Miss, remember those days when, and I grew up in an era, I'm a big man, I'm not a youngster, big man I be. We got to primary school, had to put all those fingers on your desk for inspection. And if those nails were not there or they were unclean, you got introduced to a ruler on the knuckles, man. Those were the bad old days. Lots of licks. Let's go back to the phone lines here from this caller. Call you live and on the air. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I just wanted to call in to wish all teachers well. As you said yesterday was Teachers' Day. I was a teacher myself in another life many moons ago. And it was an exciting time. Teaching is such a wonderful profession. I look back now over my entire career, and I've done quite a number of things, that this was probably one of the best times of my life, having left school, become a young professional, and the staff room and the older teachers helping you along, and then learning to give of yourself and to care about the development of young people and so on. There's a lot that teachers do and go through that sometimes I don't even think the general public is aware of. But thank you to all teachers. I just wanted to make one comment concerning I turned on just as I was getting the end of the minister's address, and I heard him speak to government's effort to close the digital divide between those of us who had internet and those of us who didn't, prior to the COVID situation. I want to say that one of the things we have to do, take very seriously, is the challenge of closing the internet divide between the students and the teachers. It's an area which is very concerning to me as an educator. And I've gone on to be even, chairperson of the government education committee and so on. But it is, I observed a situation a few years ago when, we started giving laptops and so on to children, et cetera, et cetera. And as a result, we just had the children way out in front of the teachers. We have to close the digital divide between the students and the teachers. And just as you see students doing such amazing things with that bit of equipment in their hand, I think we will all benefit from what you will see, that the amazing things that teachers can do. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Well, just before you go, I have a question for you. Are you up for a question?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, okay. Now, you said teaching was a wonderful time for you, and I must, for the purpose of disclosure, I myself have been in the profession back in another life, just like you. But from your perspective as a teacher, what are one or two memorable moments you may want to share with us in terms of perhaps interactions with your colleagues or interaction with a particular student or students? Some of us were drawn to those students who are particularly interesting in the sense that they needed lots and lots of attention. And we were privileged enough to see them grow up into outstanding human beings. So I thought you may want to share a few anecdotes with us as we pay homage to our teachers.
Oh boy, there are so many. It's difficult to just to pick one. I'll take two very quickly. I remember at one time having a class. I was at the secondary level, and there was this student, a female, who was not attending class, and I heard a shoo-shoo, going around the class that she may be pregnant, and so on. And when that happened, I said, "Look, y'all gonna excuse me for a few minutes." I put some work on the board, and I asked another teacher to just look in on these children for me for a few minutes. And unfortunately, I happened to know that the child lived close to the school. And I walked across to the mother's place. And I said, "Look," and I introduced myself. She says, "I know, because she always talking about you. Everything's well." So I said, "Okay, good. Well, I'm telling you, huh? I don't care what her condition is. And I'm not leaving here today unless she's with me." And we had a discussion. Eventually, she allowed her to come. When I got back to class, I said, we walked into the class, and everybody was looking, and you can imagine how she had been ostracized around the school and so on before, and so that had inhibited her. That caused her to crawl in a hole and stay home and not be attending school and so on, and until, I took it on, and I said, as we walked in, I said, "Class, I've spoken with her, and she said she's pregnant. Anybody wants to ask her a question?" They all looked at me. I said, "Okay, go, have a seat." And we continued. That gave her the strength. She got a distinction in my subject. Went on to get about 6 subjects and so on. And I have seen over the years the effect that efforts like that have had on students, and not just her individually, but the entire class. There is somebody who called me a couple of years ago and said, I'm calling you to see if you're there." And I said, "What do you mean to see if I'm there?" He said, "Well, remember when we had heats and we had the 1,500 meters and you put me to run?" And I said, "Yes, I think so." And then she reminded me. And this is somebody who was sort of obese in size and shape and so on. But it was the normal, sports time, heat time. And I said, "Well, you go up there and you run." I didn't think she would make the standard, but I always thought it was important for the children to try. And she said, "By the time I come back in, everybody done gone home." I said, well, look now, I don't care about who everybody done gone home. When you reach it, all the timers, the judges, all the other teachers, the whole school would have done gone. But when you reach it, I will be here, and that is what matters to you. Go. And I sent her up on the line. Well, about 3 or 4 years ago, and this time now, she must be in her, I would say, early 61. And she said, "Tonight, I graduated with my doctoral degree. And you said, when I reach the finish line, that you're going to be there. So I was calling to see if you're there." That story, I've thought about it many times, even as I talk about it now, I get a little goose pimples. It brought tears to my eyes on many occasions as I use that to encourage young people. um, the benefits you get, what you get from teaching, are just
Yeah,
uncomparable.
absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And the thing too about teaching that I learned back in the day, not in life as we said, is that you never know what your students need unless you actually speak to them. And it's always good to have a conversation with your students. And I guess if you're a student, having a conversation with your teacher could go a long way sometimes for clearing up misconceptions or stereotyping or misunderstandings. A little bit of communication could clear the air. Sometimes you make assumptions about people that are totally inaccurate, and that relationship may be impacted by those assumptions, and you may not get the very best out of the student, or the students may not get the very best out of the teacher. You tune in FM is 90.9, 20 minutes now before midday. I'll bring you a report now from Nevis Television, aired last evening, to get a perspective on observances on the island of Nevis.
Welcome to the Nevis Newscast for Monday, October 5th, 2020. I am Freddie Liebert. October 5th is annually celebrated as World Teachers' Day. The Junior Minister of Education, the Honorable Troy Liebert, in his address to mark the celebration, congratulated the teachers for going over and beyond their call of duty during the coronavirus lockdown.
Teachers leading in crisis, reimagining the future. Our teachers are indeed stellar leaders. They have demonstrated that no matter what comes their way, they are resilient agents of change. They have proven the age-old adage, to teach is to touch lives forever. Our teachers, in the midst of a pandemic and all of the subsequent changes, continue to shape the future of our students. I am proud to lead the Ministry of Education on Nevis. I am proud to be associated with all of our teachers. I pledge my continued support and that of the Nevis Island Administration as we continue to shape the future together. Happy World Teachers' Day 2020 to all present and retired teachers. The Ministry of Education appreciates you.
Minister Liebert also spoke of some of the challenges the teachers faced for the year 2020 caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
This year has brought unprecedented challenges. Our school system was unexpectedly brought to a halt in March when the COVID-19 pandemic reached our shores. Many of our teachers, whose hearts and minds are always fixed on their children, found creative ways to maintain contact and to minimize learning loss. There are examples of teachers who created videos and used the parents' WhatsApp chats to reach their students. There are teachers who made it their priority to deliver packages to their students when it was safe to do so. There are teachers who created websites and YouTube channels. Why? So that they could continue their mandate to serve our children. Kudos to all teachers who went above and beyond to reach our students during the lockdown.
Junior Minister of Education, the Honorable Troy Liebert. In related news,
the theme for this year is Teachers Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future.
Tricia Williams, president of the Nevis Teachers Union, NTU, is calling on the island's educators to elevate the noble profession and highlight themselves as professionals and essential workers as teachers are celebrated throughout October. The NTU has as its motto, Teachers, the foundation for nation building.
Teachers are not strangers to hard work and leadership. We have been resilient even before the pandemic fell on our doorstep. I am encouraging each of you to be strong. Know who you are and identify your strengths. Empower yourselves through all available means. Learn how to manage the emotions of your students and share empowering stories about your teaching so that new and disheartened teachers can be encouraged and lead on through this crisis. Find additional ways to lead in your school, community, and country. Take care of yourselves. It would be exceedingly difficult for you to make the greatest impact possible if you are tired and unable to contribute. Ride the wave of change and challenge yourself to keep abreast of the changes to secure a sustainable future for our country.
On World Teachers Day, October 5th, and throughout the month, the Nevis Teachers Facebook page will be used to highlight teachers and the union.
We are inviting the PTAs of schools, parents, and students to take pictures of presentations made to teachers and our education support personnel and post on Facebook using the hashtag World Teachers Day to celebrate our education professionals. Teachers are also encouraged to use the same hashtag World Teachers Day to share posts along with the educators around the globe to explain what they would like to take the lead on in their schools, communities, and countries. Create your teacher profiles and make them available to share. We know that these are challenging times for everyone, and we hope that our partners in the business community can offer specials for teachers during this month and every year going forward. We would also appreciate the offer of prayers for teachers from the various churches around the island.
Meantime, the Department of Education is inviting students and their parents to celebrate teachers this week by honoring them with homemade cards, poems, drawings, and videos presenting teachers with treats and classroom supplies, or simply performing an act of kindness.
And we say thank you very much to our colleagues on Nevis Television, for that report, sharing with you some of the activities earmarked on Nevis to mark World Teachers Day, observed yesterday. Now, teachers have demonstrated lots of resilience, lots of adaptability and all that, but it's not always been smooth sailing. And in just a few moments, we'll play for you a little bit of an exchange among some teachers in the Caribbean under the umbrella of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. And that's coming up after we hear from our partners, Rams Trading.
Every day, your immune system is compromised. You use up vitamin C quickly and even faster with stress and cold. Burst back into life with Halib Orange. Burst back into health with 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, as much as in 12 oranges. Each effervescent tablet is bursting with fresh fruit flavour. Sparkling orange, lemon and sugar-free blackcurrant, also suitable for diabetics. Health never tasted so good. Halib Orange, bursting with flavour, bursting with health.
A very good morning. You're live on Voices on FM 98.9. How do you do?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, sir. I'm just here wanting to wish the teachers a belated Teachers' Day. And I consider teaching to be a profession like, policing, soldiering, nursing, journalism, Many are called, but few are chosen. So I would advise anybody who wants to get into teaching pedagogy that it should be a calling and they're not just seeking a paycheck, because I don't think that would be something good on both ends for the individual or the children, and even in this new paradigm of COVID, now they have to deal with the online learning, the virtual classrooms, which the silver lining in this dark cloud of COVID, because a lot of us as parents now have to get involved in our children's education, because when an assignment has been given virtually and the parent is around, they can't say they didn't and the child didn't bring home whatever assignment to do. So we as parents now have to come online and support the teachers, because, it's not easy. They basically have to be IT technicians and teachers know, because when the Wi-Fi go bad and they can't really get through now, it will infringe on the children's education. And I look back fondly on the teachers that didn't resort one time to corporal punishment. Some people glory in that kind of stuff, not me. Because as I understand, you can't even hit a dog nowadays days without getting in trouble with the law. So I don't know why we're doing it to children. But, besides that, those are the fond memories I've had of the teachers who took the time out, who didn't just decide, oh, well, he ain't understand, so too bad for him, because ain't everybody academic. Some people are more technical, and I think our education system should be geared to such instead of this cutthroat, how much subjects I could get. And then at the end of the day, half of them subjects ain't even practical. They can't use them to get a job. So I always respect teachers to the utmost. As I say, it's a calling, a profession, and I believe teachers need to be given more than what they're getting right now. And we as parents, we really need to step up right now in this paradigm shift of COVID and lend our support to the teachers. Thank you.
And thank you very much for your contribution. Much appreciated. And what we'll do now, we'll play for you now a little bit of a discussion last evening. The Caribbean Union of Teachers, part of Education International Education and Globalization discussions about COVID-19 and World Teachers Day. We'll play some of that for you right now, right here on WinFM 90.9 on Voices.
With 20 Caribbean nations being members of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, you can imagine that it is difficult for us to get all of our messages in. So some messages will not be aired in this afternoon's segment, but you will be able to view them later on the EI's website. We have another set of videos coming up for you, and we start with the Bermuda Union of Teachers. Involved in this one as well is a short roundtable discussion by members of the CUT, including the Secretary General, Don Howell, and the President, Dr. Garth Anderson. Please enjoy.
The global COVID-19 pandemic has given the entire world occasion to pause and reflect. Education systems around the world have felt the acute pain of sudden restructuring, renovating, and restoring of educational tenets in a socially distanced new normal. Here in Bermuda, we've also used this stark interruption as a chance to rejuvenate and recommit to our vital duty of nurturing and educating our country's youth. Over the past few months, education in Bermuda has seen many changes as we collectively cope with this new norm. Daily good mornings filled with bright smiles, warm hugs, and hands-on teaching and learning have been replaced with elbow bumps, a focus on virtual and remote learning, and hidden emotions behind face masks and shields. It has been more than a simple adjustment. Indeed, it's been a total paradigm shift in the way we engage with the social, emotional, and academic education of our beloved students. In a matter of weeks, teachers and students across our island homes switched from classroom interaction to remote engagement for a period of 3 months as school buildings shut down for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. Initially, our experience was dampened by tremendous technological challenges, emotional adjustments, and a marked lack of access to adequate resources to effectively execute the daunting, unexpected job that had fallen on our heads. As time passed, however, we fought back. We fought like our union forebears would expect us to. Our members in the Bermuda public school system fulfilled the myriad and many additional expectations with grace, dignity, and a resourcefulness that bordered on elegance. It was a beautiful scene to watch unfold. The need for an upgrade in our system-wide technological infrastructure was exposed quite dramatically by the break speed shift to remote learning. And that upgrade is well on its way as we speak. A slim silver lining in an overwhelmingly dark cloud. Another silver lining we can celebrate is that our teachers learned many, many new skills. We now have professional Zoom presenters, master class dojo practitioners, and world-class Google Classroom instructors on our sensational team. But I digress. Like the rest of the world, COVID-19 has taken its toll on Bermuda, forcing closures of many businesses, leaving many citizens jobless and struggling, and ultimately causing a massive financial strain on the economy. It was for us, as it was for many societies around the world, a dire picture devoid of hope and rife with uncertainty. Perhaps our saving grace was our relative geographical isolation, which meant that our COVID-19 infection numbers remained comparatively low, crawling to a halt once our international airport was shut down. We've had casualties, but we've stood quite strong in the face of this devastating, invisible plague, and our government and public agencies have come together to forge a very encouraging bond in the fight to bring Bermuda through this calamitous time with her head held high and her affairs in relatively good order. The Bermuda Union of Teachers is proud that we, on behalf of our members, were able to put former conflicts aside and find common ground with our government allies in this historically vital battle. It is imperative that we, as a species, come through this blight, and we are proud in the knowledge that we have developed a strong understanding with our former adversaries, and confident that our efforts in these last few months will bear fruit for us in future negotiations. Our efforts have ensured that all of our members will continue to be able to provide for their families during this frightening time, and brought us to a place where we, as a system of education, were able to successfully reopen public schools at every level for the 2020-2021 school year. For this, we, the Bermuda Union of Teachers, extend a heartfelt thanks to our amazing members for their energy, strength, resilience, determination, and unshakable professionalism. We salute each and every one of you in solidarity on this World Teachers Day celebration, celebrating teachers leading in crisis, reimagining the future.
The Jamaica Teachers Association joins millions of teachers globally in celebrating World Teachers Day with a very opportune theme, Teachers Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. Guy Kawasaki posited, if you have to put anyone on a pedestal, put teachers. They are society's heroes. The year 2020 will be etched in our memories forever, with several natural disasters, racial tensions, and most significantly, a global pandemic that suddenly rearranged our lives. Undoubtedly, the COVID-19 pandemic has triggered the most extensive disruption in education in history. Schools were unceremoniously closed on March 12, 2020, shifting teaching activities from face-to-face to online. In the words of one of my colleagues, for many institutions, phones were not allowed in school up to March 12. However, as of March 12, school was in the phones. A vivid expression of how rapidly life changed. I pause to hail the many administrators and teachers whose sacrificial efforts, rapid response, and creativity ensure that the most essential business of education continued as of the next day, March 13th. The crowning moment of this effort, which captured the spirit of the Jamaican teachers, was the initiative of Mr. Karen King of Little Bay Primary and Infant School in Westmoreland, who traversed hills and valleys using whatever mode of transportation necessary, including bikeback, to deliver schoolwork to students, doing his part in ensuring inclusiveness as we grapple with the digital divide across the land. Teachers bear the weight of our nation's highest expectations and possibilities on our shoulders. Our teachers have found creative ways to exploit the many opportunities. Over 20,000 teachers in Jamaica have benefited from ongoing training in manipulating various learning management systems. Teachers are more resourced to effectively participate in online teaching. More than 20,000 tablets negotiated through the JTA have been distributed to teachers. School leaders, working in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, teachers and other stakeholders, have been doing an awesome job in preparing school plans to accommodate reduced numbers while ensuring the observation of all health protocols. Our teachers continue to offer and benefit from psychosocial sessions and healthy lifestyle practices aimed at addressing the possibility of mental challenges so prevalent in the society today. Teachers, I dedicate this special day to you. You may not be classified as an essential worker, but may I remind you, you are essential. Constantly on the front line in this crusade to eradicate illiteracy and emancipate millions from mental slavery. Let us continue to unite and serve.
COVID-19 did hit us, and we were hit very hard. Our teachers in Guyana, they have suffered. We've lost 3 of our members, 28 were infected with COVID, and they have lost family members, as well as we've lost students. And so this whole pandemic would have impacted greatly on the education system. But our teachers, the resilient people they are, we would have continued to ensure that our students were kept engaged. Collis, tell us about your experience.
And thank you very much, Madam McDonald. I am Collis Nicholson, Regional Vice President Demerara of the Guyana Teachers Union. COVID-19, as you rightly mentioned, has not spared us. But we, as a resilient fraternity, the teaching fraternity, we have not allowed that to allow the COVID-19 to separate us from our learners. But we have approached, and we have done, using the blended learning approach to this very situation. We have made certain that not only the Zoom or WhatsApp or Edmodo system we would have used, but we would have also printed worksheets and papers so that our learners can be fully engaged during this period.
But you know, Collis, let me stop you a little. I've recognized that with this new mode of teaching, that quite a lot of our teachers have been complaining about the difficulty they have experienced in the classrooms, in the Zoom classrooms, using WhatsApp. Tell us something.
That's because of a lack of experience, a lack of devices, and a lack of connectivity that they would have faced. A number of teachers would have faced that, and a number of teachers continue to face that. And so, as a union, we want to say to our teachers, hold steadfast. We understand the difficulties you face. We understand the tremendous problems that you encounter while you were during this COVID-19 pandemic, and we want to salute your immense contribution. So as we celebrate World Teachers Day, which will be held on the 5th of October, we want you to understand that we are with you. And as we go along, we are entrusting the theme for this year's celebration, which says, Teachers, Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. And against that theme, we want to say, hats off to you. Hats off, teachers. You have done well, and you will continue to do well.
And we want to join Collis with the rest of the world to say to our teachers, Happy Teachers Day. So, Collis, I recognize, and you recognize too, that World Teachers Week of celebrations that we usually have is going to be one with a difference this year. But regardless of which way we go, our teachers' contribution to Guyana and to the Caribbean cannot go unnoticed. And so we would like to take the opportunity to salute them, even while our government just releasing a budget with nothing there in terms of any increase for our teachers. Our teachers are continuing to fight this cause, continuing to lead the battle, because we recognize that with education, we can change the world. And so this year is going to be no different. Our settings are going to be different, but the way in which we recognize our teachers, that is not going to be different. Tell us what you have.
As a matter of fact, for this year, we have 1 week of activities in this our very own country, Guyana, to celebrate the contribution of teachers. On the 1st of October, we have male teachers in focus, because we want to recognize all the male teachers, notwithstanding that we understand that not many males are in the profession. On the 2nd of October, we have youthful teachers in focus because we have a number of youthful teachers who are coming into the system and they're holding the fort as though they've been there for a number of years. On the 3rd day, we are recognizing head teachers. All those head teachers in the rivering area, on the coastline, wherever they are, we know that head teachers are very much important to schools and they lead the way in education on the ground. On the 4th day, we're looking at innovative teachers because we recognize that there are teachers who in this very pandemic, they go way beyond to make certain that the learners are engaged. And on the 5th day, we have our virtual concert and we have honoring of teachers who have more than 30 years service in the teaching profession.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to this entire week of celebrations. And so, Collis, would you join me in saying Happy Teachers Day to our teachers, not only in Guyana, but across this world, and more so in the Caribbean. Happy Teachers
Day from all of us at GTU.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Michelle Quealy, President of the Anguilla Teachers Union. COVID-19 has created a sense of angst in all spheres of the world. We here in Anguilla have not recorded an outbreak in the way that some of our neighboring islands did. But when the first case was suspected, all schools were temporarily closed as a precautionary measure. When the result came back positive, this cemented the need to remain closed, a situation which heightened as the reveal of 2 more positive cases was evident. Of course, persons were thrown into a frenzy, and when it became apparent that schools had to remain closed for much longer than was anticipated, it meant that teachers had to make significant adjustments to the way in which education was delivered to our children. If I am not mistaken, school was closed as early of March right through to June 2020. We are talking here about a new norm. Having to take the classroom from the familiar physical space to the virtual learning environment. Although in some cases, virtual learning was utilized by teachers prior to COVID-19, it was done on a cursory level, and it was a matter of choice. Now, teachers had no choice. Many did not have the experience using tools for virtual learning, and this proved challenging, not just for them, but for students and parents. I am pleased to say that the Ministry of Education, recognizing these challenges, responded by way of providing training and support to teachers in the use of online learning platforms and embarked on sensitizing parents and the general public on the new norm. Of course, change brings with it some measure of uncertainty, but it also enacted creativity. It behoves me at this point to commend the teachers in Anguilla for their cooperation in spite of the challenges that they faced having to adjust to this new norm.
You're tuned to Weather FM, it's 90.9. We're going to continue our coverage of those messages for World Teachers Day offered by members of the Caribbean Union of Teachers when we come back for the second segment of Voices. Right now we take a break to bring you the headline news.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the Win FM Headline News. The Win FM Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission.
469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With the WinFM News, I am Kevon Brown. During the October 5th Nevis Emergency Operations Center briefing on Nevis, Dr. Duana Pemberton Jeffers, medical officer in the Accident and Emergency Department at the Alexandra Hospital, explained the difference between COVID-19 and dengue fever.
Dengue is caused by one of 4 related viruses, type 1, 2, 3, and 4. For this reason, a person can be infected with dengue multiple times in his or her lifetime. Coronavirus, or COVID-19, by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. It is unclear if antibody is created from a COVID-19 infection against getting infected again.
Pemberton Jeffers went on to explain how the viruses are spread. Dengue viruses are spread to people through the bites of infected mosquitoes, mainly Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. The virus that causes COVID-19 is thought to spread mainly through the respiratory droplets produced when a person coughs, sneezes, or talks.
Signs and symptoms. The most common symptom of dengue is fever, with any of the following: aches and pains, eye pain, typically behind the eyes, muscle pain, joint pain, or bone pain, nausea and vomiting, and rash. Symptoms of dengue typically last 2 to 7 days. Contact a healthcare provider if you develop a fever or have symptoms of dengue. Signs and symptoms of COVID-19. People with COVID-19 have had a wide range of symptoms reported, ranging from mild symptoms to severe illnesses. Symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. People with these symptoms may have COVID-19. Fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing fatigue, muscle or body ache, headache, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, diarrhea. This list does not include all possible symptoms, and the CDC will continue to update the list as we learn more about COVID-19.
The need to draw this delineation stems from the current outbreaks of dengue fever in St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines declared on both islands in August 2020. In an Eyewitness News article, it was reported that St. Vincent and the Grenadines registered their fifth death caused by complications from dengue fever. The Minister of Health, Wellness and Environment, Robert Brown, said on Thursday, October 1st, the latest victim is a 40-year-old female. The death follows that of a 4-year-old male, a 9-year-old male, an adult female, and an elderly male who died in September as a result of the illness. Brown also shared that as of September 29th, there were 514 laboratory-confirmed cases of dengue fever recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In a press release from the government of St. Lucia, it was reported that the incidence of dengue has increased in the region of the Americas over the past 4 decades, from 1.5 million cumulative cases in the 1980s to 16.2 million cases between 2010 and 2019. In the region, the French Caribbean islands are currently experiencing dengue outbreaks with a total of over 17,000 cases reported cumulatively. In August 2020, the Ministry of Health and Wellness of St. Lucia declared an outbreak of dengue fever. To date, St. Lucia has recorded a total of 503 confirmed dengue cases. The need to draw this delineation is a necessary step in quelling what misinformation may present itself if the Federation were to experience an outbreak anytime during the reopening of borders come October 31st. In a statement released by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force on October 5th, an update on the status of the investigation into the suspected fraudulent payments made from the Severance Payment Fund was issued. For context, on July 27, 2020, the National Audit Office requested an investigation into suspected fraudulent payments made from the Severance Payment Fund to 4 former employees of the Police Cooperative Credit Union. The White Collar Crime Unit launched an investigation into the activities surrounding payments made from the fund during May and June of 2020. Based on the findings of the investigations, charges were brought against the 4 former employees of the Police Cooperative Credit Union and the Deputy Labor Commissioner. The persons charged were Mario Wigley of Keon, Hyacinth Phipps of Gardens Housing, Shanita Richards of Paris Extension, Tishari Fifield of Gillard's Meadows, and Dion Webb of New Road, with some of the up to 14 charges including conspiracy to commit money laundering by possession, money laundering by possession, money laundering by transactions, obtaining money by false pretense, uttering of forged documents, forgery, and demanding money on forged documents. They were all arrested and charged on October 4th, 2020. The sum amount of money involved in the matter totaled EC $1,182,144.38. Education ministers on St. Kitts and Nevis are praising the efforts of teachers who are committed to their students and have found ways to enhance learning despite the difficulties posed by COVID-19. In messages to mark World Teachers' Day, October 5th, being celebrated under the theme Teachers Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future, Minister of Education Janelle Powell and Minister of Education in the Nevis Island Administration, Troy Liburd, struck similar notes with words of encouragement.
Like nurses and doctors, teachers have joined the front line in helping to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Teachers have now become experts in reading body temperatures, screening students for persistent coughs and sneezes, enforcing the wearing of masks, washing of hands, and the practicing of proper hygiene. This, again, is another great example of teachers leading in crisis. As never before, were teachers called upon to discharge such responsibilities.
Mr. Liburd, in a statement, said, quote, "As the junior minister with responsibility for education, it is an honor for me to take this opportunity to highlight and applaud teachers throughout the world, but specifically the teachers on Nevis for their continued investment toward developing and shaping our nation," end quote. Mr. Powell said an awards ceremony to celebrate the accomplishment of teachers would be held before year end.
I'm quite aware that teachers have grown accustomed to being celebrated at a ceremony where teachers who attain milestone years in this profession are recognized. I'm also aware that on World Teachers' Day, teachers who retired from active duty would also be honored for their service to the fraternity and to the nation. The Ministry of Education salutes both categories of honorees and gives the reassurance that this ceremony will take place in some form before the end of 2020.
Liebert highlighted ways teachers committed to their profession found to provide instruction during the lockdown caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The teachers created videos and used the parents' WhatsApp chats to reach their students, and some made it their priority to deliver packages to their students when it was safe to do so. Liebert continued saying there are teachers who created websites and YouTube channels to continue their mandate to serve students, and in his address he gave kudos to all teachers who went above and beyond to reach their students during the lockdown. The Nevis Teachers Union is celebrating its teachers in various ways. Tricia Williams, president of the Nevis Teachers Union, told WIND tokens were given to teachers to mark the occasion.
Okay, well, we went around and we gave the members of the Nevis Teachers Union tokens on the, for World Teachers Day. And also later this evening, I gave a speech, a presidential address, and so that will be shared on MTV.
Williams also said that teachers were encouraged to participate in a Dress to Impress competition online during this week. Participating teachers are expected to post pictures of their outfits on social media, and the winner will be determined by the post with the most likes and announced on Friday, October 9th. Wynne was unable to get a comment from the St. Kitts Teachers Union. It's Financial Information Month in the 8-member Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, and this year's theme is taking into account COVID-19's impact on the regional economy. Elizabeth Wayland and Nigel Brown of the Cooperative Relations Department of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank were guests on WIN 98.9 Monday morning.
All 8 of us, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Christopher and Nevis, St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines will all have programs throughout the month celebrating Financial Information Month. And the details for these on a weekly basis will be on the Financial Information Month Facebook page. So if you're out there in Radio Land and hearing us this morning, if you want the details of what all the countries will be doing throughout the month, you can always visit the Financial Information Month Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com, Financial Information Month, ECCU, and you will get those details. So we have a very interesting month coming up. Of course, the overall theme for Financial Information Month has not changed. That's financial empowerment through education. But this year, we have the area of focus will be building resilience in a COVID-19 environment. Of course, now we know we're dealing with the new normal. This was thrown upon us, so we had to deal with it. As they say, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So we had to see how we could continue educating our people, our citizens and residents of the ECCU.
Ms. Whalen said this year has 3 sub-themes, including a focus on management of resources, priority spending, and a strong recovery.
The second area that we'll be looking at is it's happening online, using the internet as a tool in the new normal. We hear this all over now, all over the media, new normal, everyone is talking about that, referring to what we're dealing with right now as the new normal. So that had to be incorporated in our programs this year. So the advent of social distancing and physical distancing, we were forced to seek new ways to connect with others and to conduct our personal transaction. And we all know that we had to turn to the internet. We had to look at different areas. Businesses had to look at the way that they do things. They had to look at the way they do things differently. Personally, at our homes, we had to learn how to do things differently. Even in St. Kitts, at the beginning of the lockdowns, We had some persons who were actually ordering groceries online and it being delivered at their front doors. So things have changed. There is a new normal, and we had to adjust, and we had to look at the internet, look to the internet for that. So some of the activities we'll be doing, or programs we'll be discussing FIM this year, will zero in on that.
She said the third focus will be on creating new opportunities in the region that could lead to new systems and structures. Here is Mr. Brown with a list of some of the activities earmarked for the month.
Starting with the 10th of October, there'll be a virtual library hour. This is where primary schools, they will be asked to have their children read or dramatize a story based on the FIM theme or on one of the sub-themes, and they have to submit that via WhatsApp video. Now, the school that is a judge as doing the best wins a prize. That will be sponsored by one of the partners. So the stories will be showcased on the FIM Facebook page. And then, Clive, we have community outreach. This is in the form of radio programs. Every week in the month of October, you'll have FIM partners will be guests on established radio programs to share information and engage the listeners in discussion on the sub-themes, those same sub-themes that Elizabeth spoke about.
He said Financial Information Month partners will share information about their products and services throughout the month of October.
And there's a charity outreach where partners will provide care packages to needy individuals and families throughout the Federation. Now, this year, we're also having a virtual treasure hunt. Now, in past years, we have had the treasure hunt, which is a highlight of the Financial Information Month that happens at the fair in the square. But this year, because of the circumstances, we have decided to have a virtual treasure hunt. This comes off on Saturday, 24th October. What is going to happen is that we'll be using the Smart Finance app. This is an app that was created and it is used for Financial Information Month each year. So we're going to use that app and also our Facebook page, our FIM Facebook page, and the treasure hunt will be done virtually. Persons will be logging on, and this is pertaining to the students of the secondary high schools. Students will be logging on to the Smart Finance app to receive their clues and trying to solve for the ultimate winner. And so this promises to be exciting.
This is the Carib Update News Service. I am Wendy Chateau reporting. Trinidad government presents deficit budget with major policy shifts. This is the big story we're tracking this hour on Tuesday, October 6, 2020. Details of this story and more straight ahead. Now for the details. Trinidad and Tobago's Finance Minister Colm Imbert announced major policy adjustments, including completely removing a fuel subsidy, privatizing the port, and selling gas stations when he presented the budget there late Monday. The removal of fuel subsidies will mean higher prices for diesel, kerosene, and possibly super and premium gasoline. The measures announced will also mean higher car prices and higher prices on so-called luxury food imports such as apples and grapes. The theme for this year's presentation was restarting the economy for growth and innovation. Among the breaks announced are people earning $7,000 and less won't be paying tax, free laptops and Wi-Fi devices for needy students, and a slew of incentives to expand technology, business, and jobs for youths. There was also a $500 million incentive for agriculture, other lucrative incentives for investment in technology and construction, and 25,000 new houses for lower and middle-income people. The 2021 budget expenditure is set at $49.73 billion and revenue projected at $41.364 billion, both less than 2020 budget levels. Imbert projected the deficit as $8.2 billion. Imbert said there are concerns that there are too many vehicles in the country, saying something has to be done to what he called an unsustainable state of affairs.
At close to 1 million vehicles, there are simply far too many cars on the road in Trinidad and Tobago today. As a country, we spend $2.5 billion per year, or US $400 million per year, importing an average of 25,000 motor vehicles per year, at least two-thirds of which relates to private motor cars. This has created a serious leakage of foreign exchange, 400 million US per year.
The Minister of Finance announced new measures to deal with the situation.
To correct this unsustainable situation and suppress demand, as opposed to an outright prohibition, we propose to remove all tax concessions on the importation of private motor cars. All private motor cars will now attract customs duty, motor vehicle tax, and value-added tax, with the lowest rates of duty and tax being imposed on hybrid cars, electric cars, CNG cars, and small engine cars below 1,500 cc's to encourage their use. Tax concessions will remain in place for commercial and industrial vehicles and public transport vehicles.
But opposition leader Kamla Persad Bisesar said the policy will push Trinidad back.
We are talking about increase in taxes, duties, motor vehicle tax, and VAT on all cars except maxi taxis and goods vehicles. Talking about foreign use as well as new ones. And reducing a quota on new and used cars. So we are going way back. This was old PNM policy. I remember when the UNC government came into office under Mr. Pandey, we had opened up the used car market to allow poor people to be able to own a car and drive a car. We are going to go back where it's only the rich who will get richer, and the rich will be the ones who will be able to buy these cars.
Hurricane Delta has rapidly intensified to a Category 2 hurricane, but while it continues to move west to northwest, a slight southern jog has taken it away somewhat from the Cayman Islands. The bulk of the system is expected to pass just south of the islands during the morning hours Tuesday. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 25 miles from the center of Delta, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 90 miles. As of 5 a.m., it was located 125 miles south of Grand Cayman. Residents in the 7 Mile Beach area have been urged to seek shelter or move to higher floors as very rough seas are forecast. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service said increasing wave action is expected on the south and west coasts as the hurricane moves close. This is Newsbreak from the Carib Update News Service. In more news, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden traveled to the heart of the Cuban-American diaspora on Monday to the Little Havana neighborhood of Miami to make his case to a community of voters who have traditionally supported Republicans for president. Biden said during a speech at the Jose Marti Community Gym before a small crowd of socially distanced supporters and journalists that Cuba is no closer to freedom and democracy than it was 4 years ago. President Donald Trump has made his administration's hardline approach to Cuba a central piece of his foreign policy, reversing Obama-era policies that had allowed limited travel and trade with the island to resume after decades of embargoes. Biden also addressed the twin political and humanitarian crises in Venezuela, which is under the rule of autocratic socialist President Nicolas Maduro. Biden pledged that if he is elected in November, he will immediately grant temporary protected status to Venezuelan immigrants and refugees in the United States. Less than a month from Election Day, polls show Biden faces an uphill climb in his effort to win over Cuban Americans in this crucial battleground state. St. Lucia's opposition leader, Philip J. Pearce, says his party is exploring all options, including a legal challenge to a bill on COVID restrictions passed there. The controversial bill was passed in the lower house last Tuesday, but opposition and independent legislators stayed away from the Senate on Thursday, preventing its passage in the upper house. But on Friday, 3 new senators were hastily appointed, 2 of which temporarily replaced the independents Marisa Thomas and Adrian Aguirre, thereby facilitating the passage of the bill. Both the local business and lawyer associations had called for government to hold up on the bill pending more consultations. But it went ahead anyway. The government has argued that it broke no laws in ensuring the passage of the legislation in both houses of parliament. The opposition said the new senators were not properly appointed, and PAIR told reporters that the SLP would be meeting with its legal team on the matter. On Sunday, hundreds joined a demonstration against the government over the issue. This has been another edition of Newsbreak from the Carib Update News Service, the Caribbean's newsroom. Reporting this hour, I am Wendy Chateau.
We now bring you this international report.
Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. The Kyrgyz president Soronbay Jeenbekov has hinted that he's ready to stand down after demonstrators stormed parliament in a night of violent protests. He told the BBC by phone from an undisclosed location that he was ready to give responsibility to strong leaders. Almaz Choroyev from the BBC's Kyrgyz service is in the capital Bishkek.
Currently, there's a chaos in the country. It is unclear who is in power, who is in charge. There are mayors, there are regional government officials who are resigning one by one, basically giving away their power. But to whom, it's unclear. There are several groups in the country right now within the opposition itself who have started a sort of a movement, who are saying they are in power, that they are in charge.
President Trump has again sought to downplay the seriousness of COVID-19 hours after being released from hospital with the disease. On his first full day back at the White House, Mr. Trump wrongly claimed that the illness was, in most places, less deadly than the flu. The West African regional bloc ECOWAS has lifted economic sanctions that it imposed on Mali following a military coup in August. This comes a day after an interim government was appointed. Will Ross reports.
The removal of sanctions allows Mali to trade with its neighbours and should give a boost to the ailing economy. Pressure from West African countries prevented the military men who seized power from doing whatever they wished. The 18-month transition period before elections is much shorter than the coup leaders had been planning. And because ECOWAS stood firm, Mali now has a respected retired colonel as president and a civilian prime minister. But military men are in key government positions, and there's a danger that they'll refuse to genuinely hand over power. People across the region will be hoping that the civilians and soldiers can work together to stop the alarming spread of the jihadist violence.
Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has warned in a BBC interview that ethnic Armenians in the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh are facing genocide. The long-running conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the region reignited 10 days ago. Here's Jonah Fisher.
Armenia is feeling the pressure over Nagorno-Karabakh. For the last 10 days, the disputed province has been under attack, both from the air and on the ground. Now, in an interview with the BBC, Armenia's Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan, is sounding the alarm.
You have seen today that the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh are facing an existential threat. And if the armed forces of Azerbaijan succeed, it will mean a genocide of the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh.
Mr. Pashinyan said Nagorno-Karabakh was being attacked by Azerbaijan, Turkey, and mercenaries from Syria that he called terrorists.
World news from the BBC. An inquiry in Britain has found that the Church of England failed to protect children from sexual abuse. The independent investigation in England and Wales said the church often gave alleged abusers more support than the victims. The church has apologized, saying it's ashamed. Pakistan has said it'll vehemently oppose an Indian claim that basmati rice is grown exclusively in India. Delhi has applied for what's known as a geographical indication tag at the European Union for varieties of the aromatic long-grained rice grown in its northern states. This year's Nobel Prize for Physics has been awarded to 3 academics for their work on black holes. The prize was shared between Roger Penrose from Britain, the American Andrea Ghez, and her German colleague Reinhard Skenzel. The Nobel Committee in Stockholm praised their insights into what it called the darkest secrets of the universe. Andreas, along with Reinhard Skensel, discovered a supermassive compact object at the center of our galaxy. She told the BBC about the nature of the work.
It's hard to get one's head around black holes, period, in my opinion. I mean, one, we don't have the physics to truly describe them. It definitely is extreme astrophysics. It's incredibly intriguing, this idea that there could be such objects that are infinitesimally small. Technology has really opened up new ways of seeing the center of the galaxy and has offered us just one surprise after another. And it's part of what makes working in this field such a pleasure.
Prosecutors in France have confirmed they've begun investigating allegations of match fixing at last month's French Open tennis tournament. They relate to a women's doubles match involving players from Romania, Russia, and the US. There are reports that large sums were gambled in several countries on a particular game. BBC World News.
That was the WinFM Headline News, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime and bitters. Live, love, be.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealio Walwyn, people you can trust.
Found the South 98.9.
your indoor air quality? Did you know that mold and bacteria particles are floating in the air you breathe and can cause illnesses? Steam can purify all indoor surface areas. Steam and air purification will allow you to breathe easy. Breathe Easy is the name of a business which promotes pure indoor air quality, offering professional sanitization service for residential, commercial, industrial, and public spaces. The air quality will be tested prior and post-service. Our team will delicately scrub your air so you can breathe easy. Call today for assessments and bookings at 667-0557 or 765-4925. So give us a call and breathe easy.
Let's take a look now at your weather forecast for today. Well, cloudy conditions with a 70% or higher chance of showers, and of course, you're going to have some thunderstorms during the afternoon based on that sort of prediction. Weather tonight will be cloudy with showers and a 40% or moderate chance of thunderstorms. Winds east, southeasterly at 6 to 15 kilometers per hour, 3 to 8 knots today, becoming mostly light and variable or calm tonight. Seas 3 to 4 feet, waves 3 to 4 feet. That's 1 to 1.2 meters. Sunset today at 5:55 p.m. So cloudy conditions today, and of course, you may just have some thunderstorms as well. That's the weather forecast for today.
Do you know your indoor air quality? Did you know that mold and bacteria particles are floating in the air you breathe and can cause illnesses? Steam can purify all indoor surface areas. Steam and air purification will allow you to breathe easy. Breathe Easy is the name of a business which promotes pure indoor air quality, offering professional sanitization service for residential, commercial, industrial, and public spaces. The air quality will be tested prior and post-service. Our team will delicately scrub your air so you can breathe easy. Call today for assessments and bookings at 667-0557 or 765-4925. So give us a call and breathe easy.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
You should have FM 90.9 time.
It's the Hospital Center's very good electrical and plumbing fixture sales event happening now until October 31st. All electrical and plumbing fittings will be discounted by 25%. That's right, 25% off all electrical and plumbing fixtures happening now until October 31st. The very good electrical and plumbing fixture sales event at Hosford's Building Centers on St. Kitts and Nevis. Very good products, very good prices, very good discounts on all electrical and plumbing fixtures at Hosford's Building and Nevis Centers happening now. This is very good. See store for details.
Well, I was outdrawn there by that commercial, but time to welcome you to the second segment of Voices on Win FM 90.9. This segment comes to you compliments SL Horswood and Company Limited. And before we brought you the headline news, we were just bringing you some coverage of World Teachers' Day, discussions yesterday, messages from various members of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, and we were hearing from Anguilla. When we took that break, we'll begin this afternoon. We'll continue with that message, and we'll bring it back from the very top, the message from Anguilla and more right here on Voices.
Hello everyone, I am Dr. Michelle Quealy, President of the Anguilla Teachers Union. COVID-19 has created a sense of angst in all spheres of the world. We here in Anguilla have not recorded an outbreak in the way that some of our neighboring islands did. But when the first case was suspected, all schools were temporarily closed as a precautionary measure. When the result came back positive, this cemented the need to remain closed, a situation which heightened as the reveal of 2 more positive cases was evident. Of course, persons were thrown into a frenzy, and when it became apparent that schools had to remain closed for much longer than was anticipated, it meant that teachers had to make significant adjustments to the way in which education was delivered to our children. If I am not mistaken, school was closed as early of March right through to June 2020. We are talking here about a new norm. Having to take the classroom from the familiar physical space to the virtual learning environment. Although in some cases, virtual learning was utilized by teachers prior to COVID-19, it was done on a cursory level, and it was a matter of choice. Now, teachers had no choice. Many did not have the experience using tools for virtual learning, and this proved challenging, not just for them, but for students and parents. I am pleased to say that the Ministry of Education, recognizing these challenges, responded by way of providing training and support to teachers in the use of online learning platforms and embarked on sensitizing parents and the general public on the new norm. Of course, change brings with it some measure of uncertainty, but it also enacted creativity. It behoves me at this point to commend the teachers in Anguilla for their cooperation in spite of the challenges that they faced having to adjust to this new norm. In addition to many not having the technological agility, teachers had to tolerate student and parent apathy, student disconnectedness and disengagement in the virtual learning environment, student absenteeism, students not having the technological tools to access learning from within their home, and of course, some teachers even registered instances of ill health arising from having to sit for long periods of time to deliver instruction online. But while through it all, they remained faithful and committed to the business of education. Many teachers went beyond the call of duty, and just like they did in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma in 2017, they pressed on with a heightened sense of resilience. Kudos to all teachers.
We have gathered here this afternoon to have a very brief discussion, a brief roundtable on how it is that COVID-19 has been impacting on our female teachers or women in education in the Caribbean.
To everyone, good day to everyone across the world. I am Don Howell, General Secretary, Caribbean Union of Teachers.
I'm Garth Anderson, President, CUT.
Tonya Tika de Freitas out of Trinidad and Tobago.
And hello, I am Tricia Williams, President of the Nevis Teachers Union.
Like every region in the world, COVID-19 would have impacted the Caribbean in a unique way. We have a number of small developing states, some larger than others. But while we have one experience, we all have different circumstances as it relates to COVID-19. And so today we're going to share the Caribbean experience and also zero in on some of the issues that would have affected women in the region as a result of COVID-19. We can start with Antonia.
Thank you, Don, and good evening once again to viewers and listeners. Trinidad and Tobago, like other territories around the world, we have been significantly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As educators in the first instance, we found ourselves thrown into having to navigate the virtual domain when emergency remote teaching kicked in March of this year. Subsequently, as our new school term has started, it started on September the 1st, we recognize there are many challenges, not only for educators in general, but for women in particular. As female educators, we are called to balance the work that we do in our schools with our home and family life and those responsibilities. So we recognize as a union of educators, tutor has had to provide quite a bit of psychosocial and socio-emotional support for our female teachers especially, ensuring that the work-life balance is maintained, ensuring that the contact time where they have to engage their students is done within the school hours and they are therefore able to deal with their personal lives. We have found ourselves having to provide financial support in some instances, albeit on a smaller scale, but more importantly, to, to negotiate and to collaborate with our stakeholders, the Ministry of Education and our Chief Personnel Officer who deals with terms and conditions to ensure that our educators' rights, our women's rights are not infringed upon. So that is a process in which we are currently engaged and which will take us perhaps to the end of the year.
Thank you, Antonia, for sharing. Maybe Tricia, you can shed some light coming from the small island of Moose.
Yes, on the brink of the coronavirus pandemic coming to the Caribbean, as a unit, the Nevis Teachers Union, we decided to send a survey out in terms of, trying to get an understanding of the preparation that would be needed, whether teachers had access to internet and to the devices. And we were able to take the information from that survey and we had a discussion with our partners in education, the education department, and they assisted in terms of getting the materials that we would have needed. They decided to get the Microsoft platform, get us all on board. So we did several months of training for the Microsoft teams, some teachers and also students who did not have access to internet. They were provided with internet service by the government through a partnership with Digicel, and the teachers as well, they also were provided with devices to work with. So we had several training sessions via MS Teams, and we also use other platforms to have meetings, basically. Um, Teachers on a whole, they, they expressed their dissatisfaction with some of the things that transpired as a result of, the training that involves using the online platforms. And I must say that the Ministry of Education worked closely with the Nevis Teachers Union to get the teachers on board and get them ready, and also the parents and the students in this regard.
What was the response of our teachers as mothers and wives? They now are at home, they are looking after their children, and they're working from home.
That's why I spoke about the work-life balance and trying to maintain that and ensuring that the rights are not infringed upon, because the expectation is that you would have them full-time online. And we've been fighting against that.
As a region, we are vulnerable to several different shocks. One of them is certainly the pandemic that we are going through, and having listened to you, clearly it has not been easy for the teachers in the region. We have been struggling with internet infrastructure, access, the lack of devices, and I think the grave one among all the things that we have been experiencing is that of governments trying to cut salaries of teachers, something that we have been struggling with and fighting against, and will continue that struggle. But of great import to me, and I think to those who are listening, I would like to hear from our female union leaders how they think that we could build resilience in the education system to treat with social and professional concerns that we have.
We have roughly 14,000 teachers in the education system, the public system, 11,000 plus which are members, 80% of that number being female. And what we as tutor have tried to do in the first instance is improve the capacity, build capacity within our membership especially of females. So whilst the Ministry of Education offered training programs on how to navigate Microsoft Teams, and so as Tricia said, we have also embarked on training to build capacity amongst members as tutor. That will allow us then to work towards building resilience within our education system. What we are looking for, Garth, is basically four R's. We are looking for robustness, we are looking for responsiveness, we are looking for provision of resources, and we are looking for redundancy. So our aim through the collaboration with the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders is that for this period when we are engaged in remote teaching, we will have the necessary training, resources, devices, technical, human, and financial support to attend to the needs of the teachers, allowing them to deal with our learners effectively.
And so you've just had a slice of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, some of our members. Remember, there are many more videos. We can't fit them all into this slot, but you can view them on YouTube and on the EI website.
Each in the Winter FM is 90.9, and we just brought you that discussion on teaching. The Caribbean Union of Teachers, all part of Education International. It's all available on YouTube. You can go have a look for yourself as well. All right, we have an open line as well. You can call and whatever's on your mind today, that's regional, international, or local, give us a call. Let's hear what you have to say this afternoon. And on the island of Nevis, the Nevis Island Administration's Department of Education has announced a week of activities. It's called Teacher Appreciation Week. Yesterday, it was Make a Card Monday, where students were encouraged to make a homemade card with words of appreciation for teachers. Today is the 6th of October. You're encouraged to give your teacher a token or a treat to say thanks for making learning so sweet. That's according to the ad menu. On the 7th, Worthwhile Wednesday it's called, and that's the day when you want to surprise your teacher with supplies they may need for the classroom. And then on Thursday is the day when you ask to show appreciation again with a poem or a drawing or a video to show how a particular teacher may have made a difference in your life. And then there's Fantastic Friday on the 9th of October, where teachers are who go the extra mile are expected to be thanked. You're supposed to perform an act of kindness for your teachers. So activities earmarked for Teacher Appreciation Week on the island of Nevis. We go to the phone lines now and hear from this caller. Call you live and on the air. Your own voices. Oh, sorry, missed you. Do call back. We'll try to get to you faster. Caller, good afternoon. You're live and on the air.
Yes, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes, Mr. McMahon. Thanks for calling back. You're live and on the air. Go ahead, please.
Just before I go World Teachers Day, I made a mental note on Friday to actually at the first opportunity about that very pertinent question that you asked your counterparts on Caribbean Link Up about the Antigua situation, which I think was relevant to our local situation here. And the question you asked, if you recall, was how does the system kick in to deal with issues of corruption and wrongdoing, right? How do we enforce integrity in public life? Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, right. You notice the answer that you got, that the laws are there, but essentially not operationalized or certainly not taken seriously. Well, I think that is the case here as well. And what do? Do we just throw our hands up in the air, or do we demand that the Integrity Commission do their work and be independent of the people who appointed them? They are supposed to protect the public from abuse of power and unscrupulous public officials and all of that. So I think the question was definitely pertinent to and relevant to our situation here. And I wish maybe you can probe and get some answers from officials at the Integrity Commission on exactly where they are with their work. Okay, I haven't heard any declarations of assets and or any update like the one in St. Lucia gave concerning the Integrity Commission there. Right? They essentially named and shamed officials who had not made declarations of their assets. Some did, some didn't. Okay, and we expect the same kind of transparency and openness from our Integrity Commission here. Now, with regards to the World Teachers' Day, well, first of all, I'm partial to that, being a teacher, having been a teacher myself at different levels in the system, including administration. I think I was intimately acquainted with the difficulties and the challenges, but also the really great rewards of teachers having to successfully navigate the strictures that were put on them. I think teachers, more than many other professions, are always called upon to do more with less. But we are always delighted to have played some role in the success of our students. Some, yes, have disappointed, but the majority turned out to be well-socialized and productive citizens. It is incumbent on the authorities to make the teacher's job easier by whatever means possible, provide them with the resources, etc., to do so. Good remuneration. We have been one of the leading countries, I think, in the region insofar as education was concerned. But I think the other islands, other territories are catching up, and we can't rest on our laurels. And I think we are overdue for an overhaul in our education and training systems anyway. Right? The laptop program was one of the ways of doing that. It would have changed things, I think, significantly, but unfortunately the government of the day let some UNESCO consultant come in and convince them to abandon rather than fix whatever needed fixing in that program. And we now see the error of that decision when we had to revert back to the same online learning, the same systems that we threw out the door about 4 or 5 years ago. But it's an exciting time to be a teacher with all the changes. Teachers have always had to keep abreast to remain on top of their game. And so I am sure that they would embrace these challenges. Okay, you seem to have been soliciting anecdotes or episodes in teaching,
yes,
humorous or otherwise.
Of course.
Yes. And I well remember mine. Okay, imagine my first lab session with first form students at the then Sandy Point High School, many years ago, of course, decades actually. They had been new to a lab. I had just left sixth form and was about to have my first class. I was a science teacher and was about to have my first class with them. And I remember teaching them the use of a Bunsen burner. And some enterprising young student managed to somehow pull the cord away from the outlet, the gas outlet, and the gas outlet itself was on fire. Well, you could just imagine the pandemonium in a lab with one door. I don't know who designed a lab with one exit. One door for entry and one door to exit. And so, naturally everybody panicked, all the students panicked and head for the exit. And I was there trying to head in the other direction to shut off the valve, But, after that episode, I wondered if I was in the right job, having to go through an experience like that and wondering how many other experiences like that I might have to encounter, right? But, now I can look back and laugh at it, but it was definitely a dangerous situation at the time, and one that certainly I've never forgotten. That was just my my memories.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah, man, much appreciated. Yeah, boyhood days, school days, and teaching days. There's so many memories, so many stories you can tell. If you want to share a story with us about a particular teacher or particular experience you've had as a teacher or perhaps as a student, you're free to give us a call and let's hear what you have to say. Call you live and on the air. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes, Miss Henry. Good afternoon to you.
Well, I did not know you're part of the honorable profession.
Oh yes, man. Oh yes.
I say, who was not?
Yeah, it's brilliant actually.
Who was not?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Absolutely.
I like Mr. McMahon's story, you know.
Yes.
Some children that really make you wonder what you do. What am I doing here?
Well, they remind you of yourself as well, you know. I mean, you see in
yeah,
children,
man,
you know,
I remember,
a bit
I
of
remember
yourself.
one time in school, we were doing this thing with the hydrochloric acid. I don't know if you know this test, this biology teacher giving us. And he did say it will burn, you know. And you know, children get to go to the way to prove the point.
Yeah, we got to test it.
You got to test it. Next thing you know, you got all kind of hole in your skirt and people scrambling for water. But I had happy experiences both at school and teaching. Teaching was a challenge, eh? And I must compliment all teachers, past and present. It is a job because you are faced with numerous temperaments.
How big was your class, Miss Henry?
You know, at one point, I actually had a class of 74.
74?
Yeah, but you see, I never taught in all at once.
My biggest class was 50.
I was trained to teach in groups. I just come from Teachers College, where we were taught to teach in groups.
Mm-hmm.
They would divide the class into 3 or 4 groups. One working, that was kindergarten though.
Yeah.
Because what happened is that one kindergarten, then 2 of each of the other grades. I don't know what kind of logic is that. And you could imagine pregnant and teaching, eh? Pregnant and teaching that amount of children. At one time, I remember there was a teacher strike. I think in 1970 when they had this debacle between the Labour Party and the headmaster of the Bastille High School, Mr. Jones, over this carnival, who could enter and who had right to give permission. And I went to the teachers' union meeting. It was called the Civil Service Association. And they had the election, and the majority voted to strike. I had just started teaching in 68. I had worked in a business enterprise downtown before. And well, you know, you just start to teach. Substitute teachers, they used to call it at that time. And, well, when I look at the people in the leadership, they were headmasters of high school, headmasters of primary school and stuff like that. But if they agree to strike, what would you want to do? And my mother said, Sylvine, you better come go to work, you know, you just start to work. And, you know, when your mother started later on you?
Pressure.
Mr. Bacchus, when I went up, I was living on Millionaire Street. When I go up to the bus stop to the head of the street, who was at the bus stop with me? The headmaster of the Sunny Point School, who must have been the president, but he was on the executive. I go down to Trinity School, it was then opposite the Trinity Anglican Church. All traces have been removed, but it was a big school. It was a big school because it was an all-age school. I go down to the school to discover that most of the teachers thought, like me, that if the senior members could strike, they're not going, it don't make any sense to go to work. When I got down, it was me, Miss Earl, the head teacher, and maybe 1 or 2. I ended up with 100. When I reached home in the evening, Lord, I couldn't host. Because she said, let's bring them outside and you got to sing and all kind of story, Mr. Bacchus. I never forgot it. I never forgot it. But I was accustomed to teach, you know, because as I said, I was trained early. But my best years, well, I had best years wherever I went, you know, because I remember at Arishan School. It used to have a bad name, eh? Arishan children bad and they won't come school and whatever. But I was transferred from kindergarten to grade 6. And I was determined that we are going to prove that children from Irish Town School could go 1A1. And we did very well, you know. I was there teaching there for 2 years before I went to Basti High. You know, and I felt so proud. We had a girl, Cindy Quashi. She's somewhere in the States now. She was only 10. In those days, you could go up at 11. You know? And she went to thing and she stayed in the top. Basti High, man, that was something else, Mr. Bacchus. You know, when you're dealing with adolescent girls, oh, Lord. Have you ever taught in high school with girls?
Yeah, I had a class of 51
Lord,
times in high school.
I'm telling you, they always in the period. That's all I should say. Some of them, you know, moody. But they could be nice when they're ready, eh? But you got to be, I think they're looking for a mother, eh? So I started to play the mother. I started to play in the class. And I taught mathematics, which made it even more exciting. I used to have to go and pull some of them out to the bathroom. The school had two campuses, and to me, part of the problem was the way the timetable was set. I had to go and teach mathematics, Mr. Bacchus. They two last period on a Friday afternoon. I call that cruelty, you know. So the children will see me coming across the playing field. So when they go ahead down in the bathroom, they think I see them, you know. When after the one they were telling me about it, I would go into the bathroom and say, look, all of you in here, come out. And they said, Lord, me saying we people can't get a little break. I said, no. But I had so much pleasure. And so my students, you know, their teachers used to wonder how come Miss Henry could get to teach their maths and they wouldn't do anything else in some people's class. Because, you see, I used to try and put myself in the children's place. Many of them come from homes where things were just rough and tough, you know, and expectations were low. I talked in psychology a long time, you know, Mr. Bacchus.
Mm-hmm.
You got to motivate them, you know, you could do it and so and demonstrate it. When they get it right, me, I'm going to get it right as a girl, you could do it long time. You could do it. And sometimes this is what they be lacking. We don't build confidence in the children. And I used to run the two canteen because I was in the credit union thing. I had a bank. I used to do banking at the school. We had a cooperative society. That's what I went Guyana to train for, at the Kuru thing.
Yeah, the Kuru Cooperative College.
Right. Lord, up in the bush. We wouldn't talk about that today. Anyway. But it was good, eh? The course was good, only that the culture and the something I was adverse to it. But anyway, you know, and I ran two canteens, one on each campus. We sold books, stationery, we sold drinks and everything. And the children were involved. And when I came back, I put them to manage it. All like Grace Richardson, what you remember. She and Dust and the young man Trevor Blake, who is now head of the ECSE. All of these children were on the management team running the cooperative, you know. So I had a lot of good experiences. Some of them said, Lord, one was confessing, the other day, said, Lord, Miss Henry, I have to confess. This is donkey years after, you know. She said, Miss Henry, when I see you come in, I pick up the broom and I start to sweep by the canteen because I want to pack up, I used to sell like peanuts and that kind of stuff. And I had to laugh, you know. But I had good memories. And I bless all the children, all the students I taught. I taught at different schools. I taught at girls' school for a year. Irish Town for 5, Trinity for 3, and I practiced Basti High School for nearly 4 or 5. I taught Wendy. I taught economics. So I have doctors, lawyers, the CMO. I taught the CMO. She was curious, you know, Mr. Bacchus. I think I tell you about it already, right?
You're going to embarrass the CMO that way. You got the CMO saying, I'm not calling into FM at all, man.
Man, the girl, look, she was a spark. She's still, you know, I am not surprised by her achievements. I am not surprised at all. And so I have many. Some of them running bus whenever they see me teach them, say we and whatnot. And I feel good. And so I want to encourage teachers. The pay will never be equitable. The pay. Because you see, the trouble with the pay is if they got to carry up teacher one, they have to carry up police one, they have to carry up everybody one. Maybe they should. But what I find really interesting is the teaching online. You know, sometimes I wish I was there. I'm a lover of computers, eh? And it is time enough. You see, COVID has good in it, you know. A lot of teachers staying away from the technology. And as Mr. McMahon said, when the Labour Party gave out the laptop, that was a joke. Teachers had no idea what to do. It was not even part of the teaching, the curriculum. The children had no internet at home. But I want to know, in relation to, maybe you could find out, how many, they gave a number, how wide is the spread? Because having given the tablets, they said that they were going to wire or put internet into the homes of those who need it. I would like to know how many students, how many parents took the opportunity. And going forward, because I think I heard them say about 3 months free. What happened after that? Have you thought about it?
Yes, I can ask the question. I don't have the answer, but I can certainly pose the question.
And remember that the devices were lent. What is the status of them? And I suggest in terms of teachers, maybe what the government could do is give them maybe bring them in and sell them at maybe cost price. Because some teachers still don't have, because, I don't like this, and then the phone is doing so much. The phone itself can do what a computer can do. So if you're going to have this online teaching, you will need a bigger screen. So maybe they could, rather than just lending the teachers, they could have a facility where they could either assist them in purchasing them, because they should be duty-free, or they used to be at one point, I don't know. But this thing can be worked on so that each teacher can purchase their own devices. And those who need camera, and there should be ongoing training, because technology changes so fast, techniques change. So that there has to be ongoing training. And for the parents, we have the ITC center up there. I think there's also need to train parents, offer these training to parents. Because it makes no sense the child alone there. And the mother don't know if they're on a red book, yellow book, or green book. They don't know what the children are doing. They are sitting down, they are assuming the child is doing what it should do. But if the parents had some kind of a training, they themselves could assist the child. So it maybe can be done at the school level. After school, we have all these lot of technicians here, and they're now working, give them a little job to go to the schools and run some classes for children, because each school, I think, have a computer lab. But that is one way of expediting it, eh? So happy Teachers' Day to all of the teachers, retired and presently working. And happy Student Day, because without students, there'll be no teachers. So to all the students, please do your best to make life easier for your teacher. All who does leave, I tell some of them, you get your assignment this morning. You know, some of them get the assignment before they come, right? Mr. Bacchus? They get the assignment. Look, I'm going to Miss Henry this morning for Miss Henry. Today, when Mr. Bacchus come, I'm going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
They get the assignment. So all of you who got your assignment, please tape that paper there. And make life easier for your teacher. Make life easier for your teacher. And your parents, a little token goes a long way. In my days, we got the appreciation by the children coming. So, Miss Henry, give me your bag. You know, they would take your bag. Miss Henry, you want me to clean the board? And they do small things. Nowadays, teachers get in gifts and stuff and so. Well, I am old. All the retired teachers are asking for their one now. All right, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes, Ms. Henry, thank you so much for being a part of the program. Thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts with us and your experiences as a teacher. I mean, wow. Right. You're listening to Voices on WNFM 90.9. It's 60 minutes after 1 o'clock. Let's hear from our partners. SL Horswood and Company Limited.
It's the Horsford's Independent Sales Drive for the months of September to October. Horsford's Automotive will be on their biggest sales drive for 2020. Come to Horsford's Automotive in the months of September and October and drive away with up to $30,000 discount on select models. Your choice of either free gas for 3 months or up to $1,000 in free groceries. 50% discount on VAT. Yup, for the months of September and October. Pay just 8.5% on VAT. Free servicing for 1 year. Free bill of sale. Free registration, licensing, and tinting. Zero down payment. That's right. Absolutely no down payment. And much more. It's the Horsford's Independent Sales Drive. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details. It's the Hogswoods Building Center's Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event, happening now until October 31st. All electrical and plumbing fittings will be discounted by 25%. That's right, 25% off all electrical and plumbing fixtures, happening now until October 31st. The Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event at Hogswoods Building Centers on St. Kitts and Nevis. Very good products, very good prices, very good discounts on all electrical and plumbing fixtures at Hogsford's Building and Nevis Centers, happening now. This is very good. See store for details. It's the Hogsford's Independent Sales Drive for the months of September to October. Hogsford's Automotive will be on their biggest sales drive for 2020. Come to Hogsford's Automotive in the months of September and October and drive away with up to $30,000 discount on select models. Your choice of either free gas for 3 months or up to $1,000 in free groceries. 50% discount on VAT. Yup, for the months of September and October. Pay just 8.5% on VAT. Free servicing for 1 year. Free bill of sale. Free registration, licensing, and tinting. Zero down payment. That's right. Absolutely no down payment. And much more. It's the Hogswoods Independent Sales Drive. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
You're tuning to FM. It's 90.9 on your dial. We spent some time today giving thanks for our teachers. World Teachers Day yesterday. We had some calls as well from some teachers who recounted some experiences. And again, we say congratulations and all the very best to the teachers of St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean. Now, during the break, I heard from Sharon, who reminded me, something was on my mind this morning. Today being the 6th day of October, I couldn't remember what it was, but Sharon helped me to remember that on a somber note, today marks the 44th anniversary of the terrorist bomb attack on a Cubana airline, Flight 455, headed from Barbados to Jamaica en route to Cuba. The Cuban flight, 73 passengers on board, many of them teenagers. It was a Douglas DC-8 aircraft at the time, and all on board were killed. 2 bombs were used, explosives described as dynamite or C4. And just about 4 years ago, there's an organization called the National Security Archive that appealed for the declassification of those documents, looking into Luis Posada Corrales and the role he played in that bombing. Those files have not been declassified as far as I'm aware. And of course, today marks that anniversary. And that was the first terrorist attack in the Caribbean that we can recall. That's Flight 455, the 6th of October, 1976. The lives of 11 Guyanese were among those 73 people who perished aboard that flight. There were 2 Venezuelan nationals who were involved as well. They were subsequently jailed. And Posada was also jailed for a bit, managed to escape He spent 8 years in a Venezuelan prison awaiting a final sentence, but he escaped in 1985, and he was never brought back since then. He died in Miami a few years ago. So, just something from memory lane, something that's still remembered by people who lost loved ones in that terrorist bombing. All right, we have an open mic today, so do give us a call. What's on your mind today? It's 21 minutes after the hour, just a few minutes to go before we wrap things up here on Voices for Today.
It's the Hartsford's Building Center's Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event happening now until October 31st. All electrical and plumbing fittings will be discounted by 25%. 25%.
This is very good.
That's right. 25% off all electrical and plumbing fixtures happening now until October 31st. The Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event at Hartsford's Building Centers on St. Kitts and Nevis. Very good products. Very good prices. Very good discounts on all electrical and plumbing fixtures at Hartsford's Building and Nevis Centers happening now.
This is very good.
See store for details.
All right, good afternoon. You're live on Voices.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes.
Carol here.
Yes. How are
I'm
you doing?
just calling to remember my teachers.
Yes,
especially
please.
from primary school. I have a teacher, Miss Doris Archer Adams. She's in her late 80s now. She lives at Newport site. And then I went to girls' high school. And my form teacher was Miss Clarita Richards. And as I told you some time ago, Mrs. Lorna Nisbet Callender was my maths teacher. And then when I went to...
You're calling some big names there, man.
Yeah, I remember calling to congratulate her. And then I had 1 year in Basty High School, where I met Mrs. Jacobs, and Mr. Esdale was the head teacher. Well, I didn't like him, but I forgave him since I'm a big person, so we spoke. So he know that I've forgiven him, eh? He did me some injustice, Mr. But one thing, they were glad to rally around me when I became the first woman sergeant in St. Kitts and the first woman inspector. They began to, those who had my school days all messed up, they rally around me. I forgave them, huh? But I had a little stint of teaching, at the training school in policing. And that's the worst time for my policing. You know why? I thought teaching was easier. But then when I realized if the students don't pass, the recruits, they might lose a job. It began to act on my nerves, no? So I had to beg them, please take note after 2 years, because when you see people if they don't perform, they'll ask to leave the force or stay in a lower rank. And I was really sorry for them. But I had this to say. I had a teacher in primary school named Mrs. Violet Walwyn. I didn't see her for 40 years. Last time I saw her when I was 12 or so. I left village school. And in 1992, somewhere around the line there, I saw her at a funeral. And somebody asked her if she remembered Carol Osman. She said, oh, yes. And the minister asked her, said, tell me what you know about Carol. She said, she was a nice little girl or something. The minister said, she believed him. I said, everybody said, no, I don't believe she was so nice because I was a trustee. She had lived with me, so Eustace John lived, and I was a top student. So I would go up to the house and carry the mangoes and whatnot. And she trusted me. I wouldn't steal, So when the other students, they want to steal the mango, I lock them up in the house so they can't come out. They have to put back the mangoes and come out. So I think she thanked me for that. I spoke to her once or twice in Canada. She was in Mississauga. I think she died last year. But when she told all of them that what a nice person I was, she said, they can't believe the same Carol. I said, yes. And she said, all along she knew I was a police. And most of the teachers who I come in contact with after I joined the police force, then because of my behavior and what I stand for, then you will be a police because Mr. Bacchus, I was an easy one to deal with. Because, you know, I skipped classes twice. I skipped 5th, 27, and 3rd to 5th, 5th to 7th. So when I reached girls' high school, the work they're giving me was too petty for me, so I won't do it. Because when I left village school, I could do pressy. And when I reached girls' high school in Form 1, they want me to say, he is and he and I am and that. And I decided I wasn't doing that. It was too inferior for me, so I had my shortcomings in high school. But I thank everybody, but most especially I want to thank Miss Archer, Miss Adams, because she gave me and Sylvie summer classes in spelling and so when she was living at Navy Street. And I'm glad to see her. I know she's getting down now, but whenever she see me, she give me a hug or give me a good thing. And Miss Richards and Miss Calendar have me in high rating because when Miss Calendar's husband was here, they took a picture of me in my sergeant clothes and they sent it to me. So I thank all the teachers. Maybe they feel I was bad in my days, but I was so bad. I was just being Carol. Okay then.
Thank you so much for calling. All right, you had me laughing for a bit there. Well, when we were younger, you know, we never stole mangoes. We borrowed the mangoes, or we moved the mangoes so we give some others a chance to grow. We weren't really, you know, we were just assisting the process. Let's go back to the phone lines to hear from this caller and hear what this caller has to say. Call you live and on the air. Good afternoon to you.
Yes, Mr. Bacchus.
Yes,
It's
Mr.
good
Bacchus.
of you to remember the Cubana incident, because even though most people have forgotten it, I think it's what shaped Caribbean, certainly certainly in terms of the foreign policy up to even now. Because if you recall, that was the time, I think, when Cuba, when it had the Grenada Revolution, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it was somewhere around there when Cuba was using Grenada as a transshipment point for its struggle, you know, helping the black liberation struggle in Africa, right? And the U.S. didn't like that, and there was the whole left-right political debacle. And if you recall, I think it was Adams who was in Tom Adams, I think it was the Prime Minister of Barbados then. And you had the Manly Seaga PLP, Jamaica JLP feud going full throttle, okay? And so it's interesting now that the U.S. took this stance against terrorism, but for some reason they did not apply it to the Cubana incident. I think there were attempts to get the one who got away extradited from Miami back to Venezuela, but the U.S. resisted. And it just goes to show one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Are you quoting? Are you quoting Nelson Mandela now?
No one knows more about that than him, you know. But it certainly shaped up to this day. The JLP still adopt the right-wing pro-U.S. stance, whereas other territories in the Caribbean are more left-leaning. They may not be. They're definitely not pro-Russian or pro-Chinese, but they know exactly what U.S. hegemony is like, what the duplicities in U.S. foreign policy, and exactly what the U.S. is intended to do. And it has always divided the region, and you know, 2020 is no exception. But like I say, it was good of you to remember that. I'm sure not many places in the Caribbean or people in the Caribbean remember that incident, but you know, it was a big thing because it happened right off Barbados, right off the UWI campus, Cayfield campus there, you know, and it was a big thing back then. But like anything else in history, you get lost, in the woodwork, but it definitely had an impact on events then and now. Okay then.
All right, Mr. McMahon, thank you very much for your contribution to the program. You reminded me of the Grenada Revolution, and that came to a grinding halt in 1983 it was, but I think it was in 1979 that the People's Revolutionary Government was proclaimed on the 13th of March after the New Drill movement overthrew the government of Grenada in a revolution back in those days. In the 70s, of course, we were talking about non-alignment in the Caribbean. We were looking to see how we could be friends of everyone and enemies to none. And we're looking to combine our votes at the national fora for our own advantage. 14 votes, CARICOM, I think at the time, looking to wage some sort of soft power in terms of influence on the global stage for the benefit of the people, or peoples, if you like, of the Caribbean. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to say goodbye to you now. I'm Clive Bacchus, wishing you and yours all the very best and saying goodbye from Voices. The second segment sponsored by SL Horsroad and Company Limited.